It's 1982, and Silicon Valley is becoming the beating heart of American innovation. Engineers with thick glasses and pocket protectors are designing the future in garage startups and corporate campuses. The Cold War is raging, but here in California, brilliant minds are focused on circuits and code, not conflicts and conspiracies. Meet Sarah Chun. That's not her real name, but we'll call her that to protect the innocent. She's 34 years old, Stanford educated, and absolutely brilliant. The kind of person who can look at a missile guidance system and see poetry in the mathematics. She has security clearance that most people can only dream of, access to some of America's most closely guarded secrets. To her neighbors, she's just another Silicon Valley success story. The American dream wrapped in a lab coat. But here's what makes this case absolutely chilling. Sarah Chun isn't just any engineer. She's working on projects that could determine who wins or loses a nuclear war. The documents she has access to relate to United States Minuteman missiles and American plans to strengthen defenses against a preemptive nuclear attack by the Soviet Union. The kind of information that might still help Moscow in a nuclear exchange today. Now, I want you to imagine you're an FBI agent in San Francisco. It's October 1983, and you're watching surveillance footage from Vienna. There's Sarah, sitting at a cafe across from a man with a Polish accent. She slides a manila envelope across the table. He slides back an envelope thick with cash. The whole exchange takes less than 30 seconds, but what just happened will haunt American intelligence for decades. What you're about to hear is the story of how one woman's personal crisis became a national security nightmare. How financial pressure, family problems, and foreign manipulation created the perfect storm. Just after she was kicked out of her own company for embezzlement by the mid-1970s, she began secretly working for a ring of Silicon Valley-based technicians who were covertly supplying prohibited technology to the Soviet bloc. But here's the part that will keep you up at night. Sarah Chun thought she was just selling technical manuals. Boring stuff. The kind of information that any competent engineer could figure out given enough time. She told herself she wasn't really hurting anyone. She was just paying the bills, solving her money problems, maybe buying herself a little breathing room. She had no idea that those technical manuals were giving the Soviet Union the ability to target American cities with devastating precision. The information was about nuclear missiles. The Polish people had a letter from Moscow which made a list of the information they wanted, and Harper got it. Every document she sold brought World War III one step closer. The investigation that followed would reveal a web of deception so complex, so carefully constructed, that even seasoned FBI agents were shocked. This wasn't just about one woman making bad choices. This was about how easy it had become for foreign intelligence services to penetrate the very heart of American defense technology. By the time the handcuffs clicked shut, Sarah Chun had sold secrets that could have changed the outcome of a nuclear war. The FBI called it one of the most damaging espionage cases in American history. The damage assessment? Still classified to this day, more than 40 years later. So how does a brilliant engineer, a patriot, someone who swore an oath to protect American secrets, end up becoming one of the most dangerous spies in modern history? How does someone who grew up pledging allegiance to the flag decide to sell that flag's secrets to its enemies? That's what we're going to find out together. Because this story, this real story, is about more than just one woman's betrayal. It's about vulnerability. It's about how quickly loyalty can erode when pressure mounts. It's about the thin line between patriot and traitor, and how sometimes that line is thinner than we'd like to believe. The investigation behind Sarah Chun's high-tech espionage case will reveal truths about human nature, about national security, and about the price of secrets that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about trust, betrayal, and the cost of American freedom. Stay with me, because once you hear this story, you'll never look at your neighbor, your coworker, or even yourself the same way again. Let me tell you about Sarah Chun's life before everything fell apart. She wasn't born to be a spy. She was born to be the American dream incarnate. Married her college sweetheart, had two beautiful children, owned a house in Palo Alto with a white picket fence, and a golden retriever named Max. By the early 1970s, Sarah had co-founded her own company, Chun Magnetics. She had built a reputation as absolutely brilliant in the field of high-voltage power supplies and transformers, the kind of technology that was becoming the backbone of America's defense systems. Her clients included some of the biggest names in aerospace and defense. She was living proof that in America, with hard work and intelligence, anyone could make it. But here's where the story takes its first turn. Success in Silicon Valley in the 1970s was intoxicating, but it was also fragile. Companies rose and fell based on single contracts. One bad quarter could destroy years of work. One failed product could bankrupt you overnight. Chun Magnetics was struggling. The contracts weren't coming in fast enough. The overhead was crushing. Sarah was watching her life's work crumble, and she was desperate. That's when she made her first mistake. Not espionage, just good old-fashioned embezzlement. She started moving company money around, borrowing from one account to pay another, telling herself she'd pay it back when the next big contract came in. But the next big contract never came. Instead, her business partners discovered what she'd been doing. The confrontation was brutal. These were people who had trusted her, invested their savings with her, believed in her vision. And she had betrayed that trust. By 1975, Sarah Chun was kicked out of her own company, her reputation in Silicon Valley destroyed, her marriage falling apart. Now imagine you're Sarah Chun in late 1975. You're 35 years old, professionally disgraced, facing potential criminal charges for embezzlement. Your marriage is hanging by a thread. Your children are asking why daddy doesn't live at home anymore. You're qualified to work on some of the most advanced technology in the world, but no one in Silicon Valley will hire you. That's when Marcus showed up. Marcus Kowalski, or at least that's what he called himself. He approached her at a technical conference in San Jose. Said he represented a consortium of European technology companies looking for American expertise. The accent was subtle, Eastern European maybe, but his English was perfect. His business card looked legitimate. His offer was exactly what Sarah needed to hear. We're not looking for anything proprietary. Marcus explained over expensive wine at a Palo Alto restaurant. Just general technical information. The kind of thing that helps European companies stay competitive with American innovations. Think of it as technical consulting. The money he offered was substantial, but not suspicious. $5,000 for a technical report on American manufacturing processes. Nothing classified, nothing that would violate any laws. Just her expertise, her knowledge of how American companies approach certain engineering problems. Sarah told herself this was legitimate consulting work. European companies did hire American experts all the time. This was just business. But somewhere in the back of her mind, she knew something wasn't quite right. The secrecy, the cash payments, the vague descriptions of exactly which companies Marcus represented. But she needed the money. She needed to feel valuable again, to prove that her expertise still mattered. So she wrote the report. Technical, dry, boring stuff about power supply systems and transformer design. She delivered it to Marcus at another restaurant meeting. He handed her an envelope thick with cash. The whole transaction took 5 minutes. What Sarah didn't know was that the FBI had been watching Marcus Kowalski for months. They knew he wasn't just a technical consultant. They knew that European Technology Solutions was a front operation run by Polish intelligence. And now they were watching Sarah Chun too. For 3 years, Sarah's relationship with Marcus followed the same pattern. Monthly meetings, technical reports, cash payments. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, the request began to change. Instead of general manufacturing processes, Marcus started asking about specific defense contractors. Instead of theoretical discussions, he wanted actual documentation. We're particularly interested in guidance systems, Marcus mentioned casually during a dinner meeting in 1978. European companies are struggling to keep up with American advances in that area. He pushed a piece of paper across the table. It was a list of specific technical specifications, written in technical language that only an expert would understand. Sarah stared at the list. These weren't general manufacturing questions anymore. These were requests for information about American missile systems. The kind of information that was definitely classified. The kind of information that could get her arrested. "I don't think I can help you with this," she said quietly. Marcus's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. The friendly consultant facade slipped just slightly. "Sarah," he said, using her first name for the first time, "you've been very helpful to us over the past 3 years. We've paid you well, over $50,000, I believe. It would be unfortunate if certain American authorities learned about our business relationship." The threat was subtle but clear. Marcus wasn't just her client anymore. He was her handler. The consulting work had been a recruitment operation, carefully designed to compromise her gradually. Every payment had been documented. Every meeting had been recorded. Sarah Chin wasn't just a consultant anymore. She was an asset. "Of course," Marcus continued, his voice gentle again, "this would be much more lucrative than our previous arrangements. We're talking about substantial compensation, enough to solve your financial problems permanently." Sarah went home that night, knowing her life had just changed forever. She could refuse Marcus's request and face exposure for her previous activities. She could go to the FBI and admit what she'd been doing, hoping for leniency. Or she could cross the line from technical consultant to genuine spy. She thought about her children, about the college funds she couldn't provide, about the house she might lose, about the disgrace that would follow her family if her previous activities became public. The next morning, she called Marcus and agreed to his request. 2 weeks later, Sarah Chun walked into her workplace at a major defense contractor where she'd recently found employment. She had legitimate access to classified documents as part of her job. But for the first time, she wasn't there just to do her work. She was there to steal secrets for a foreign power. The transformation was complete. Sarah Chun, disgraced Silicon Valley entrepreneur, had become something she never imagined she could be, a traitor to her own country. What happened next would haunt American intelligence officials for decades. Between 1978 and 1983, Sarah Chin became what the FBI would later describe as a one-woman intelligence disaster. She had access to some of America's most closely guarded secrets, and she was systematically feeding them to the Soviet Union through Polish intermediaries. The scope of what she provided was staggering. Technical specifications for the Minuteman intercontinental ballistic missile, guidance systems for submarine-launched nuclear weapons, advanced radar systems designed to detect incoming Soviet missiles. The FBI would later estimate that she had provided over 200 pounds of classified documents. In Moscow, teams of KGB analysts were working around the clock to understand what Sarah was providing. A KGB defector would later tell American intelligence that the information was so valuable, so comprehensive, that it effectively gave the Soviet Union a complete blueprint of American nuclear defense capabilities. But Sarah wasn't just passing documents through Marcus anymore. By 1980, she was traveling regularly to Europe for face-to-face meetings with Polish intelligence officers. Vienna, Prague, Warsaw, cities where East and West met in shadowy hotel rooms and cafe corners. Each trip netted her substantial payments, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars in cash. The money was transformative. Sarah went from financial desperation to comfortable affluence. She bought a new house, took expensive vacations, sent her children to private schools. To her neighbors, it looked like she'd finally turned her career around. To the FBI, it looked like someone was paying her far more than any legitimate job would justify. But success made Sarah careless. She started living above her reported income. She paid for major purchases with cash. She traveled internationally far more than her cover story could explain. Most dangerously, she began to believe she was smarter than the people trying to catch her. What Sarah didn't realize was that American intelligence had been watching Polish operations in the United States for years. They had identified Marcus Kowalski as a Polish intelligence officer. They had photographed him meeting with various American contacts, and they had been building a case against his entire network. The breakthrough came in 1982 when the CIA recruited a source inside Polish intelligence, codenamed Caribou. This source provided detailed information about Polish operations in the United States, including the code names of American assets being run by Polish intelligence. Caribou's intelligence revealed that the Poles had a source they called doctor, someone with access to American nuclear secrets who had been providing information for years. The description matched what the FBI already suspected about Sarah Chun. By early 1983, the FBI had enough evidence to move. But they faced a dilemma. If they arrested Sarah immediately, they might not uncover the full extent of what she had provided to the Soviets. If they waited too long, she might detect their surveillance and flee the country. The decision was made to let Sarah make one more trip to Europe, hoping she would lead them to other members of the spy ring. It was a calculated risk that would determine whether one of the most damaging espionage cases in American history would end with a single arrest or reveal a much larger conspiracy. October 8, 1983. Sarah Chun boards a flight from San Francisco to Vienna, carrying what she believes will be her final delivery to Polish intelligence. She's decided this will be her last transaction. She's made enough money to secure her family's future, and the risk is becoming too great. What Sarah doesn't know is that 3 FBI agents are on the same flight. The Bureau has decided this will indeed be her final delivery, but not for the reason she thinks. In Vienna, Sarah checks into the same hotel she's used for previous meetings. Room 412, overlooking the Danube. She's developed a routine over the years. Arrive in the afternoon, meet her contact that evening, fly back to California the next day. Professional, efficient, careful, but this time feels different. Marcus seems nervous, constantly checking his watch, looking toward the cafe entrance. He's brought someone new, a man he introduces only as Vladimir, who speaks with a thick Russian accent and asks detailed technical questions about the documents Sarah has provided. Our colleagues in Moscow are very pleased with your work, Vladimir tells her. So pleased that they want to expand our relationship. There are other facilities you could access, other types of information that would be valuable. For the first time, Sarah fully understands what she's been part of. This isn't just about Polish intelligence gathering competitive information. This is about the Soviet Union using her to steal American nuclear secrets. The realization hits her like a physical blow. She completes the transaction. She's too deep to back out now. Vladimir hands her an envelope containing $50,000 in cash. In exchange, she provides technical specifications for America's most advanced missile defense systems. The exchange takes less than 10 minutes, but its implications will last for decades. That night, Sarah can't sleep. She walks the streets of Vienna, trying to process what she's become. She thinks about her children, about the country she swore to defend, about the line she crossed and can never uncross. Tomorrow she'll fly back to California and try to return to her normal life, but she knows nothing will ever be normal again. The next morning, she boards her flight home, the $50,000 carefully distributed throughout her luggage. As the plane takes off, she looks down at Vienna disappearing below and promises herself this was truly the last time. But as her plane descends toward San Francisco International Airport, Sarah Chun has no idea that her life as a free woman is about to end. Waiting for her at the gate are FBI agents with handcuffs, arrest warrants, and evidence that will send her to prison for the rest of her life. October 10th, 1983, 6:23 p.m. Pacific Time. Flight 447 from Vienna touches down at San Francisco International Airport. Sarah Chun gathers her carry-on bag, checks to make sure the cash is still secure in her luggage, and prepares to walk back into her American life. She's thinking about her children, wondering if they've finished their homework, planning to take them out for dinner tomorrow night. She's thinking about her work schedule for the following week, about a mortgage payment that's coming due, about normal life concerns. Sarah Chun. The voice is calm, professional. She turns to see a man in a dark suit holding up a badge. FBI, you're under arrest for espionage. Time stops. Sarah's first instinct is to run, but there's nowhere to go. Her second instinct is to deny everything, but the agent is reading from a detailed warrant that includes dates, locations, amounts of money. They know everything. As the handcuffs click shut, Sarah realizes this moment has been inevitable since that first meeting with Marcus 8 years ago. Every decision, every document, every dollar has led to this airport corridor, these handcuffs, this end to the life she thought she was protecting. The FBI finds exactly what they expected in her luggage: $50,000 in cash, contact information for Polish intelligence officers, and notes about future document deliveries. But they also find something they didn't expect: a letter Sarah had written but never sent, addressed to her children, tried to explain why she had done what she did. "I never meant for it to go this far," the letter reads. "I just wanted to provide for you, to give you the life you deserved. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of who I was supposed to be." The arrest of Sarah Chun sends shockwaves through Silicon Valley and the intelligence community. The FBI reveals that she received more than $250,000 for selling classified documents, and they believe she still possessed up to 200 pounds of documents involving U.S. Minuteman missiles. Described as a high-living Silicon Valley electronics genius, Sarah is indicted on 9 counts of espionage and tax evasion for the theft and sale of secrets to Polish agents who gave the data to Soviet operatives. She is sentenced to life in prison, but the real punishment is knowing what she's lost. Not just her freedom, but her children's respect, her country's trust, and her own sense of who she was supposed to be. Her children, now adults, have changed their names. They've built new lives, far from the shadow of their mother's betrayal. They never visit. They never write. In the most personal sense, Sarah Chun has lost everything that mattered to her. The damage assessment remains classified to this day, more than 40 years later. But intelligence officials privately acknowledge that Sarah Chun's betrayal may have altered the balance of nuclear power between the United States and Soviet Union during the final, most dangerous years of the Cold War. The investigation behind Sarah Chun's high-tech espionage case revealed something that haunts intelligence professionals to this day. The most dangerous enemies of America aren't foreign agents infiltrating our borders. They're ordinary Americans who decide that money, pressure, or personal problems matter more than the oath they swore to defend their country. Sarah Chun thought she was just solving her financial problems. Instead, she became one of the most damaging spies in American history. Her story is a reminder that treason doesn't always wear a foreign uniform. Sometimes it wears the face of your neighbor, your colleague, or someone who looks exactly like the person you see in the mirror. The next time someone asks you what you would do for money, for your family, for your future, remember Sarah Chun. Remember that the line between patriot and traitor is thinner than we like to believe. And remember that once that line is crossed, there's no going back. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this journey into the digital underworld captivated you, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more true crime stories that reveal the hidden side of our world.